And forgive me, I actually meant to start with this. What's your reaction to Kelsey Plum not being named an all-star starter?
It's ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's not a. It's become a social media popularity contest, not about who the most impactful players are. She's by far, I mean, best one-on-one player in the league. She's having an MVP season. I didn't even know that, but it's.
Yeah, it just came out. Yeah, she was not a part of the starting four backcourt.
Shocking, but yet not surprising. And I hope our league can get to the point where it's not just popularity in terms of social media, and it's actually about what these guys are doing on the court.
There it is. That's what a head coach sounds like when she actually stands up for her star player. Lynne Roberts didn't hesitate, didn't soften it, didn't backtrack. She called it ridiculous, called out the social media popularity contest, and made it clear Kelsey Plum deserved better. And the entire time I'm watching that, I'm thinking about one person, Stephanie White. Because that moment right there, that's exactly what Caitlin Clark fans have been begging for all season long. And it's the one thing we cannot get from Indiana's head coach.
Sparks do. They have signed Kate Martin to a full-on standard contract. No more developmental stuff, no more of that. Kate Money Martin is fully on the squad. Squad. She's fully there. Is this a seed being planted in the ground for Caitlin Clark to eventually join that?
Kate Martin, full standard contract. No more developmental deal, no more uncertainty. The LA Sparks just made Caitlin Clark's college teammate and close friend a permanent fixture on their roster. And if you think that's a coincidence, you haven't been paying attention to how this league actually works. This isn't just about Kate Martin's game, though she's earned it. This is about building an infrastructure, planting seeds, creating a situation that looks extremely attractive to a certain superstar point guard whose future in Indiana is starting to look shakier by the week.
Clark. It's as simple as that. That's why they're able to look like a formidable team even when she doesn't play, because they built the roster to play without her more than they have leaned into her and built a team to play around her. They've spent 2 off seasons building a team to play without Caitlin Clark. It's clear as day. It's very simple, and I think the writing is pretty much already on the wall. At the end of the season, Kelsey Mitchell contract is up. Caitlin Clark is up for the Epic.
That's the part that doesn't get talked about enough. The Indiana Fever spent 2 consecutive off seasons building a roster designed to function without Caitlin Clark. Not around her, without her. They look competent when she sits, because the entire system was constructed for a different style of play. You can see it in the rotations, the shot distribution, the pace. They didn't adjust the foundation when the best playmaker in women's basketball walked through the door. They just tried to fit her into what was already there. That's backwards, and everyone can feel it.
Direction. They're either going to choose Kelsey Mitchell and Stephanie White, or they are going to choose Caitlin Clark. And I include Stephanie White in that because Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark, philosophically, they just don't see basketball from the same lens. It's that simple. I don't believe that they hate each other off the floor. I just don't think that on the floor, it's a good mix. I think they just see the game through 2 different lenses.
And now we're staring down the end of this season with 2 massive contract situations looming. Kelsey Mitchell's deal is up. Caitlin Clark is extension eligible. The Fever are going to be forced to make a choice. And based on everything we've seen, based on how this roster was built, based on the philosophical gap between Clark and Stephanie White, I don't think it's guaranteed they choose Caitlin. That might sound insane to casual fans, but if you've watched how this season has unfolded, how the coaching staff has managed her, how they've refused to publicly defend her through controversy after controversy, it's not insane at all. It's a legitimate possibility.
Cameron Brink, who's friends with Caitlin Clark. You got Kate Money Martin, who's best friends with Caitlin Clark. Sophie Cunningham will be a free agent at the end of this season. Hey, Sophie Lexi can making her way downtown.
Cameron Brink was friends with Caitlin Clark before the ACL injury ended her season. Kate Martin is best friends with Caitlin Clark and just got locked into LA. Sophie Cunningham, another player with ties to Clark, becomes a free agent at the end of this year. The Sparks aren't just collecting talent. They're collecting relationships. They're building a friend group, a culture, a team that would feel like home to someone who might be looking for an exit from a situation that's never quite felt right.
Now we saw this didn't even come down to the fans. You know what I'm saying? Like, I will say I appreciate how Lynne Roberts stepped up for Kelsey Plum and stood 10 toes down. I think it's BS. Kelsey Plum should be a starter. She believes she's the best one-on-one player in the league. Kelsey Plum second in the league in scoring. She was absolutely tearing it up this season. Make no mistake about it, Plum Dog was lighting it up this season. I love how Coach stood on business for her.
Lynne Roberts didn't just defend Kelsey Plum in that moment. She set a standard. She showed what it looks like when a coach goes to war for her player in public, when the stakes matter, when the disrespect is obvious. And she did it knowing full well that Caitlin Clark and her fans were watching. Because this is about more than Kelsey Plum's all-star snub. This is about sending a message. If you come to LA, this is how you'll be treated. This is the kind of coach you'll have. This is the kind of organization that will back you when the league tries to diminish what you're doing.
Record, Kelsey Plum is dealing with an injury now, but you can't argue, but you can't say anything about her skill set, her production, and the players were haters. Once again, ranking her the 12th best guard, Caitlin Clark the 11th best guard, and we already saw Kelsey Plum come out and talk about how she was treated basically because she was white and popular when she walked.
Kelsey Plum is second in the league in scoring. She's shooting over 50% from the field as a 5'8" guard. She's averaging 24 points and 6 assists. Those are all-star starter numbers in any reasonable universe, but the players ranked her 12th among guards. They ranked Caitlin Clark 11th. The disrespect is structural at this point, and it's not subtle. And Lynne Roberts called it out immediately, while Stephanie White has spent an entire season tiptoeing around every controversy involving her own franchise player.
I mean, what else does a person have to do if they're averaging 24 points, 6 assists, a 5'8" guard shooting above 50% from the field? Like, what else can you do?
Other than be super active on social media, nothing. Like that seems to be what the parameters are. So, but KP's about winning. She's about being great, being excellent. She'll take it in stride.
The fan vote for the All-Star Game was a disaster. Paige Buchers jumped 400,000 votes in 3 days. Nobody believes that was organic. The league wanted a different captain, and they got one. Caitlin Clark got pushed aside. Kelsey Plum got left out of the starting lineup entirely, and both of their coaches had very different reactions. One of them went on record, called it what it was, and stood tall. The other one has been conspicuously silent on just about everything that matters.
We have been yearning and calling for Stephanie White to actually stand up for, represent, and be front and center for Caitlin Clark. And she's refused to do it at every turn outside of a 30-second clip post the Alyssa Thomas situation in which she backtracked on everything she said and made Alyssa Thomas the victim when her superstar point guard was the victim. It just makes no sense how Stephanie White has gone about this.
Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark don't see basketball the same way. That's not a personal attack. That's an observation based on months of evidence. White runs a system built on defensive intensity and half-court sets. Clark is a transition assassin who thrives in open space and high-paced chaos. White wants ball movement and equal touches. Clark is at her best when the offense runs through her hands and she dictates every possession. Those aren't compatible philosophies, and no amount of media spin is going to change that. You can respect both styles and still acknowledge they don't fit together.
Represent and be front and center for Caitlin Clark. And she's refused to do it at every turn outside of a 30-second clip post the Alyssa Thomas situation in which she backtracked on everything she said and made Alyssa Thomas the victim when her superstar point guard was the victim. It just makes no sense how Stephanie White has gone about this.
And the Alyssa Thomas situation exposed everything. Stephanie White had one moment, one 30-second clip, where she seemed to defend Caitlin Clark after a dirty play that could have ended her season, and then she backtracked. She made Alyssa Thomas the victim. She softened her stance, walked it back, and left her superstar point guard out to dry. That's the moment a lot of fans realized this wasn't going to work long-term. Because if your coach won't protect you when a player tries to injure you on national television, what exactly is she going to protect you from?
When you do, what are you going to say to her about it? Because, I mean, she's having a season that is worthy of being an all-star starter. Well, MVP, but an all-star starter just for the base level.
I haven't talked to her yet about it. I'll see how that conversation goes.
Okay.
Lynne Roberts hasn't even talked to Kelsey Plum about the all-star snub yet, and she's already gone on record multiple times defending her. That's instinct. That's loyalty. That's what a coach does when she believes in her player and isn't worried about league politics or media perception. And that's exactly the kind of energy Caitlin Clark hasn't felt in Indiana. Not from the front office, not from the coaching staff, not from the organization that's supposed to be building around the most marketable player in the sport's history.
We all know they rigged the fan voting for Paige Beckers. Paige Beckers jumped 400,000 votes in like 3 days. We all know it was rigged. It was scammy. They just didn't want Caitlin Clark to be the captain. But the Los Angeles Sparks, I think Caitlin Clark in LA will be a beautiful thing. And it's going to be very, 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 very interesting to see how this thing plays out in Indy.
The LA Sparks aren't a playoff team right now. Kelsey Plum is dealing with an injury. Their record isn't great, but none of that changes the fact that Plum is having an elite season and her coach is making sure everyone knows it. She's putting it on the record. She's creating a culture where greatness gets recognized and defended, not minimized or explained away. And if you're Caitlin Clark, watching all of this unfold while your own coach stays silent through controversy after controversy, that culture starts to look really appealing.
Could this be a push? Could this be a final push for a sign of things to come? Lynne Roberts, head coach, LA Sparks, planting seeds in the ground for Caitlin Clark to blossom and eventually put on a LA Sparks uniform. The talks were once hot. They might be heating up again.
So is this a push? Is this LA making a final move to set the stage for something bigger? The Kate Martin signing is real. The public defense of Kelsey Plum is real. The philosophical contrast between what's happening in LA and what's happening in Indiana is real. And at the end of this season, when Kelsey Mitchell's contract expires and Caitlin Clark becomes extension eligible, the Fever are going to have to make a decision. Do they commit to the player who can define the next decade of this franchise, or do they stick with the system they've already built? Because here's what people need to understand about Caitlin Clark's situation. This isn't just about wins and losses. It's about respect. It's about whether the organization you play for is willing to fight for you when the league tries to tear you down. It's about whether your coach will stand at a podium and call out the disrespect, or whether she'll stay quiet and hope it blows over. Caitlin Clark has been the most scrutinized, most criticized, most physically targeted player in the WNBA this season, and her head coach has been almost invisible in defending her through any of it. Meanwhile, 3,000 miles away, Lynne Roberts is building something different. She's showing what it looks like when a franchise actually centers its star, when a coach goes on record and doesn't care who it upsets. The Sparks have Kate Martin locked in. They have Cameron Brink coming back from injury next season. Sophie Cunningham could be available. And they have a head coach who has now publicly demonstrated exactly how she handles disrespect toward her best players. That's not an accident. That's a recruitment pitch, and it's a good one. The other factor nobody's talking about enough is the market. Los Angeles is the second largest media market in the country. It's where endorsements multiply, where visibility explodes, where a superstar can become a global brand in ways that just aren't possible in Indiana. Caitlin Clark is already the most marketable player in women's basketball. Put her in LA, pair her with a coach who will defend her, surround her with friends and players who fit her style, and you're not just building a winning team, you're building an empire. The Fever can offer stability, they can offer familiarity, but can they offer the kind of organizational support that makes a generational talent want to stay for the next decade? Based on what we've seen this season, that's a real question. And the silence from Stephanie White every time Caitlin Clark gets disrespected is an answer in itself. This is the last season you'll see Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark as teammates. That's not speculation, that's reading the writing on the wall. The Fever are going to have to choose a direction, and the direction they've been moving suggests they might not choose the player everyone assumes is untouchable. If they let Kelsey Mitchell walk and run it back with the same coaching staff and the same philosophy, that tells you everything. If they try to keep both and force Clark into the same system that hasn't maximized her, that tells you everything too. And if Caitlin Clark looks at all of this, looks at how Lynne Roberts defended Kelsey Plum without hesitation, looks at Kate Martin getting locked into a standard contract, looks at the possibility of playing in LA with a coach who would actually go to war for her, and decides that's where her future is, that wouldn't be a betrayal, that would be a business decision. That would be a player choosing to go somewhere she's valued, somewhere the organization is built around her strengths, somewhere the coach sees the game the way she does. The talks were hot before, they're heating up again. And the Sparks just made a move that makes it very clear they're not just thinking about next season. They're thinking about the next era. They're thinking about what it would take to bring the biggest star in women's basketball to Los Angeles. And they're putting the pieces in place to make that vision a reality. So where does this go? Does Caitlin Clark finish this season, sign an extension in Indiana, and commit to making it work with Stephanie White and a roster that was never built for her? Or does she look at what's being constructed in LA, look at the way Lynne Roberts operates, look at the friends and the market and the opportunity, and decide it's time for a change? We're about to find out. And the fact that we're even asking the question tells you everything about how this season has gone in Indiana. What do you think? Is LA actually building toward a Caitlin Clark move, or is this just smart roster management that people are reading too much into? Drop your take in the comments. And if you want to see how this plays out, hit that subscribe button, because this story is just getting started.